So, hello everyone. I hope you're good out there. Let's start with another session out there, and I'm going to discuss one of the most important themes out there. That's been a favorite of UPSC out there. Again, sir, what we're going to discuss? We're going to discuss one of the themes out there. We're going to discuss one of the themes out there. What's the theme for this? What's the theme for this? For this session theme, I bring an important topic out there that's been very relevant for the UPSC out there. What's the important topic? It's a critical examination of access to education, health, and livelihood in India. So again, we're going to study the intersection of these points. We're going to study the intersection of these points. Take an example. For example, you must have studied what a Venn diagram is. Just give me a moment. You must have studied what we called as intersection of 3 points. Intersection of 3 points. That is education, health, and livelihood. We're going to study this. Take an example of Venn diagram. This is one circle, another, and this is another. Now, in one circle, we're going to put education. We're going to put education. Another, we're going to put health. On another, we're going to put livelihood. So, must be aware about the mathematics out there. The intersection point of this is called this point. It's called this point, the shaded part. The shaded part out there. That's called intersection, common part between the 3 parts. And we're gonna study all three, and develop a multi-dimensional perspective of all 3, including 3. You need to juxtapose 3 of them all together and think 360 degree out there. Think out of the box. Lateral thinking is required, and of course you're gonna make it and write a decent answer there that will fetch you decent marks out there. Okay. So it's nothing but what we called as a 360 degree multi-dimensional perspective. Okay, we're going to study about the multi-dimensional perspective. We're going to discuss the multi-dimensional perspective. So again, you have to focus on education, health, and livelihood simultaneously. Don't compartmentalize these things. You need to understand 3 of them simultaneously out there. Don't look education as a separate compartment, or health as a separate compartment, or livelihood as a separate compartment out there. You need to juxtapose 3 of them, make sense out of it, understand its intersection point out there, and write a decent answer that will fetch you a decent amount of marks out there in the examination. Okay, so let's begin with this. So, access to education, progress and challenges. Access to education, progress and challenges out there. First of all, sir, there has been a lot of difficulty out there in accessing education. Take an example. It's if you're coming from not a very affluent family out there, or if you're coming from what we call as a working class out there, it's almost become difficult to access decent education out there. You can even look at the plight of the government schools out there. Apart from Delhi, which has a certain decent amount of government schools, no other state has a decent amount of public sector schools or government schools that offer you a quality education out there. Okay. So India's literacy rate has significantly improved. It's not even 74% as per 2011 census to 26%, but at this moment it is approx, because it's again a 2011 statistics. It's approx 80% out there. 80% of literacy has improved, but the definition of literacy rate is very basic out there when it comes to India. It's a very basic out there when it comes to India. Those who can read and write above the age of 6 years of age is considered to be a literate out there. But will it fetch any sort of market gain from that knowledge? No. Will you get any sort of decent job out there? No. Will you able to get any sort of specific references? No. That which you can read and write will help you to gain further education or higher education? No. Not even a basic education out there. Will it help you to gain employment? No. Will it help you to gather some sort of societal status out there? No. No, sir. So again, literacy doesn't mean anything in this world, where the importance of digital literacy has been increased, financial literacy has been increased. Even if you're just a basic literate, it doesn't even count that. No one gives a shit about that. No one gives a shit and no one gives a damn about this. Okay. Another is the right to education. Again, sir, right to education, Article 21 है. Article 21A made it a fundamental right out there. 21A made it a fundamental right out there to access education for a schooling for children aged 6 to 14, a landmark step towards a universal primary education. Okay, that's a good step out there. It's made a fundamental right out there. You can't breach that. But the problem is, no, there has been still a lot of dropouts between this age. Still lot of dropouts. Dropouts in this age group. Sir, why there has been a lot of dropouts? Again, sir, the scheme of midday meal is a sham. Midday meal. Scheme of midday meal is nothing but a sham. But a sham out there. What does that mean? Sir, take an example. You must have studied a lot of case studies out there in the newspaper out there. What kind of food they are getting at a midday meal school? Nothing. It's pathetic, degraded food grains, not even a proper egg out there. And you should know about this, that there has been a lot of hidden hunger out there. There has been a lot of hidden hunger out there in the India. What does that mean? It means that, okay, you can fulfill your stomach out there, but you can't fulfill the nutritional deficiency that's been there in the India all around. You can fulfill your all these stuff, but you can't fulfill all your nutritional deficiency out there. Again, look at the system of PDS out there. You are offered a pathetic food grain, a degraded food grain out there in the MSP, through MSP and in the fair price shops. But sir, it can fulfill your hunger, not your hidden hunger. That's what. But at this stage, even a midday meal, they are not even providing that much of food which can fulfill your stomach out there. That's why a lot of people are dropping out there. They think, okay, yeah, instead of going to school, wasting my time out there, and I'm not getting anything in return, I should work with my father in a certain what we call a kiln industry. In kiln industry, ईंटों की जो industry होती है, kiln industry, or I can work in the salt industry out there. I'll earn certain amount of wages that will be better for me at this moment as compared to the longer run. Market. You can think that why they are not thinking about the long-term aspect of the education aspect. Sir, no one looks longer. No one thinks about the long-term solutions when your short-term solutions are not cleared out there. If you're not getting anything out in a short run, you're not getting any solution out there, will you think about the long term? No, you won't. So that's the thing works. That's the thing, sir. That's been a lot of dropouts there because there has been a systematic failure of midday scheme. Systematic failure of midday meal. Systematic failure of midday meal scheme. Midday meal scheme. Systematic failure of midday meal scheme. Systematic failure of midday meal scheme. ठीक है sir. Another, there has been a persistent disparities. Significant disparities persist across rural urban divides. Caste lines, gender reflected in the education Gini index. What does that mean? Sir, again, disparities has been on all lines. Disparities has been on all lines. For example, there has been disparities. Disparities on gender. Male are given more preference. Male are given more preference as compared to females when it comes to education, because there has been a patriarchal mindset out there. Which consider that, okay, look, see, if we're gonna give a better education out to a male person out there, it will carry our lineage to the next level or to the next generation out there. Whereas female is considered to be a pariah dhan, she has to leave house at a certain moment of time. That's why there has been an immense, exorbitant amount of investment out there for a male child as compared to female. Again, This is the case when I'm talking there has been a limited resources with the family and they want to invest in a particular child out there. So given a preference between a male and female out there, they're going to invest more on a female, on a male as compared to female, because he's going to carry that lineage or carry that legacy of a particular generation to the next generation, or pass out these legacy to the next generation, what we called as a अपना खानदान बढ़ाना and अपनी परंपरा को कायम रखना. That's what we called as a lineage and something called practices. So male given more preferences when it comes to education as compared to the female. Condition is there has been a limited resources with the family. They can only teach one person out there, not two. So there has been a male preference is more. Male preference is more as compared to female preference. As compared to me, female. As compared to female. Another disparities on the line, disparities on a particular line is called caste. As you can see, sir, there has been a caste phenomenon, and it's an age-old practice that's been there in the India. It's an archaic practice out there, still carried out implicitly, though it's been abolished. The untouchability has been abolished as per the Article 17 of the Constitution out there. It's a fundamental right, but it's been still practiced implicitly, or been still practiced as a covertly. Now the point is, sir, there has been numerous higher caste out there, Brahmins, or particular one called Brahmins, and there's a particular one called Shudras. So there has been a data that clarifies, oh look, general category students are getting more access to higher education, getting more access to higher education, more access to higher education as compared to those who are coming from a lower one, out there. And there has been a systematic exploitation that's been taking place. Rohit Vemula case, you must have remembered that Rohit Vemula case out there. A PhD student out there that faced immense discrimination on the basis of his caste lines, So again, that's been the case. Even in the reputed institutions like AIMS and IITs all there has been a higher representation of a general category students as compared to those who are coming from the low caste. Out there. I hope that's you can comprehend this effectively out there. There's nothing rocket science that you can't do that. Okay. So that's been a disparities on two lines called gender, called caste. And what else? As we have seen, there has been a rural-urban divide. As well. Disparities on the lines of disparities on the lines of rural-urban divide. Rural-urban divide. Now the point is, what kind of discrimination there has been, what kind of disparities it is. So as you can see, when I talk about the rural segment, more than 50% of people are employed in agriculture sector. More than 50% people resides in rural sector. More than 50% resides in rural segment. And a lot of people, their primary occupation is agriculture. Out there. Now, if the primary occupation agriculture, you can understand that there has been a lot of disguised unemployment that's been taking place. What's disguised unemployment? Disguised unemployment is nothing but where the marginal productivity is zero. What's marginal productivity? It's nothing. When you employ one more member out there in order to produce one extra unit of output, that's called marginal productivity. But that's been zero. So that's why marginal productivity is zero, and marginal productivity zero means there has been a lot of disguised unemployment. People seems to be working, but they are not. Disguised unemployment. People seems to be working, but they are not. Now again, with agriculture, it's not a very remunerative practice out there. Not a very remunerative or lucrative out there. Or lucrative business out there. Or lucrative business out there. So what will happen? See, understand this. If there is no lucrativeness, they're not earning that well. That means they're not going to invest too much on heavy on education. They're not going to invest too heavy on education out there. Too heavy on education out there. Too heavy on education out there. The point is, if they're not going to spend too heavy on education, who's going to spend? So the urban people out there. Again, when I talk about urban people, it's very important. You can even list that there has been a lot of urban poverty as well. Absolutely fine. That's completely agreed upon. There has been a lot of urban poverty out there, but you have to imagine one thing. You have to consider one thing, that there has been a higher segment of white collar workers. There has been a higher segment of white collar workers. There has been a higher segment of white collar workers. I hope you got this point. If there is a higher segment of white collar workers, that means they are earning decent, if not earning decent, and they can afford, if not too much of higher education in terms of Harvard or Stanford, at least they can provide a decent level of education to their child. To the child out there. I hope you got this point. I hope it's clear. Okay. So there has been again disparities that's been there on these lines. There has been a disparities based on these lines out there. Again, infrastructure gaps. Challenges include inadequate infrastructure, with 1 in 40 schools operating in tents and open spaces alongside critical teacher shortages. That's the major problem. Why there has been gap in the education sector out there, why there has been not too much of education, not given too much of priority, or why there has been a rise in dropouts out there, in the early education system. The point is, there has been a bottlenecks in infrastructure, bottlenecks in infrastructure segment, in school infrastructure, bottlenecks in school infrastructure. Bottlenecks in school infrastructure. The point is, when the bottlenecks in school infrastructure out there, okay, what's the issue? So there are several government schools. As I say, apart from Delhi, there is no other state that has offered a decent amount of decent infrastructure wise government school out there. So what's the problem? There has been an infrastructure problem. A lot of schools are operating in tents, open tents. Now the point with tents is, so there is no proper washroom for the ladies out there. No proper washroom. There is no proper washroom for the ladies. That's again a major segment why there has been too much of dropouts for females. That leads to too much of dropouts for women. Too much of dropout for women. Again, sir, this is a critical issue. There has been no proper teachers out there. No proper teachers, or lack of adequate amount of teachers. No proper teachers. No proper teachers. Lack of adequate amount of teacher. Lack of adequate amount of teacher. Why there has been a no proper teachers out there? Why there has been a no proper teachers out there? Because as you can see, there has been a lot of corruption and malpractices that going on in a government examination, TGT and PGT out there. Seats are sold out. Seats are sold out, particularly to certain people based on money. Based on money, those whoever bids high out there. You must have known these corruption cases, especially in the UP segment. But sir, the point is, why there has been no proper teacher? Because again, one, there is no merit. One, there is no merit. One, there has been no merit out there. The another thing is, one, there has been a no merit out there. The another thing is called that, sir, that they are not interested out there in teaching, not interested or passionate. Not interested. Not interested or passionate about teaching out there. People pay price just to be on the seat, That's a government seat out there. They are not interested in teaching. They are not interested in education reforms out there. They are only interested in bribes. They are only interested in bribes out there. They are only interested in bribes. I hope you got this point. Again, sir, midday meal has been on a lower side. Midday meal is a complete false. It's a Hawks scheme out there. It's a complete failure. Midday meal is a complete Hawks statement out there. Because again, first of all, you are not getting better quantity out there. Even if you get a quantity out there, you are not solving the problem of hidden hunger. You are not solving the problem of hidden hunger out there. There has been a nutrition deficiency that's been going on within a particular segment of children out there. As you can see, within women as well, more than 50% of women are anemic in nature. Are anemic. Okay, I hope you got these points out there. How to become an IAS officer, sir? Gauri Meher. How to become an IAS officer? By clearing UPSC exam, Gauri. By clearing UPSC exam, that's how you can become a IAS officer. That getting a rank under 100 if you're from general category, or otherwise if you're from reserve category out there, then even higher ranks would help you. Okay, so I hope you got these points out there. Okay, so access to education, progress and challenges. These are the challenges out there. I hope you got this. Now, education inequality and quality concerns. Again, we have touched this topic. Out there. Let's begin this. Higher education access. Limited for rural and impoverished students with only 26% enrollment. I'll give you an anecdote for this. I'll give you a perfect anecdote for this. Take an example of a certain guy. He's 21, 22. At last, he's lost his father recently. Now there's been a burden on him to run family out there. He has a responsibility. He's a 22-year kid out there. But now there has been a proper responsibility to run house there because there is no other earning member out there. There is no other bread earner out there. So his ambition was to go. हिस्ट्री को कैसे at rate रखूँ sir? For history, I can say that you can follow Aditya sir. That's been there in the channel. He teaches brilliantly out there. You can take his guidance for history out there. He's the best out there. Don't worry about that. You can consult Aditya sir. He teaches in this channel, job grade. Okay. So where was I? Why there has been? I was giving an anecdote out there. For example, there's a 22-year kid. He lost his father recently. Now there has been a burden on him to run family out there because there is no other family member out that's been earning. He's a sole breadwinner. He got his ambitions. He wants to study abroad. He wants to go to London School of Economics or London Business School out there. But because there has been no monetary support, he has to run his family. He doesn't have to run his own expenses. Market. A lot of people do job and bear their own expenses. But there are a lot of people who do job and bear the expenses of entire family. There's a huge difference between that. Difference between that. Once you bear the expenses of a whole family, it's become a very tedious task. Out there. So again, he got his ambition, but now it's been destroyed because it can't be fulfilled because of the monetary shortage, because of the what we call as the financial crisis out there. So again, sir, that's been the reason why there has been a only 26% enrollment in the higher education. There has been not too much of enrollment. Responsibilities. 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 Financial strains. Financial crisis. Financial crisis. So another, because again we are the, again no problem, Gauri. Again, we are certain people that we are the largest population out there. Not everyone's gonna get equal chances out there. Some will get a better lucrative opportunity, some will not. Again, it's my personal experience. Never underestimate the power of luck out there. A lot of people do hard work, but only few succeed. Why? Because it's a luck factor out there. It's a luck factor out there. Consider this example. He's a 22-year kid. He lost his father. There will be another 22-year kid who is doing absolutely everything to pursue his dreams, because there is no tension that how his kitchen will run. There is no tension. That's how his kitchen will run. He's just there to fulfill his ambition. Rest everything is care. Everything is taken care by his or her parents out there. That's the difference. That's what we call luck. That's what we call as luck out there. Okay. Quality issues, outdated curricula, faculty shortage, and poor infrastructure hinder learning outcomes. That's been, there has been called an ACER report. There has been called an ACER report. ACER reports that says, okay, look, hey, look. 40%, even 30% of students, 30% of students that are in grade 8th standard can't even solve the problem of 2nd standard, or can't even read a basic paragraph out there, can't even solve a problem of 2nd standard, and can't even read a basic paragraph out, can't even read a basic paragraph out there. That's how thing works. So there has been, again, outdated curricula. Even you look at things, certain things. Look at things, sir. Is at this moment, is your education paying any return on investment? If you're not coming from that IITs and IIMs, no, it's not. You will only get a job based on skill at this moment. You will only get a job based on skill at this moment. Your degree won't help you to do that. Your degree won't help you to do that. That's how things works. Why the degree is useless at this moment? Why the degree is useless? Why education system is not progressing out there? Because of outdated curriculum, outdated syllabus. Because of outdated syllabus. Because of outdated syllabus. As you can see, sir, what we are studying, it's not even relevant today. It's not even relevant today. We need our course to be updated, to keep a track of what's going on in the economy. What we need AI. What we need financial literacy, how to invest our money. Financial literacy. What we need digital literacy, to know all these micro office stuff out there, MS Excel, PowerPoint, all these stuff. Digital literacy. And the evergreen communication skills, how to present yourself, how to sell yourself out there in the market. Communication skill out there. AI, financial literacy, digital literacy, communication skills. What we need at this moment. Otherwise, if you're going to rely at the outdated model, then of course there will be a there will be amplification of what we call as a structural unemployment. There will be an amplification. There will be an amplification of structural unemployment. Amplification of structural unemployment. And what's structural employment? Such structural employment is nothing but a loss of jobs based on outdated curriculum or based on advancement of technologies. Take an example. Loss of jobs, structural unemployment is loss of jobs. Loss of jobs based on advancement in technology. Based on advancement in structural technology, based on advancement in technology out there. Okay, based on advancement in technology out there. Now the point is, sir, another point is, what kind of advancement? Take an example. There has been a lot of mass layoffs that's been going on, even in the top companies like Google, Microsoft, what we call Adobe out there. Why? Because there has been advancement in technology, and there is no person out there that can fulfill or do that kind of job out there. There has been a skill deficit. There has been a skill deficit that's been going on. Skill deficit. Okay. And why there has been a skill deficit? Because the education is not updated. It's not updated. It's outdated out there. So there has been a jobs in the market, but again, there is no one who can perform these jobs with perfection or efficiency out there. There has been a jobs. Why? Because there has been advancement of technologies out there. So again, if someone loses his job and say, okay, because market has been bearish, that's one reason out there. If market is slow, you're gonna lose job. But again, if advancement in technology is there and you will not cope up with that technology, again, you're gonna lose that. You're gonna lose that job out there. You're gonna lose that job out there. That's called a structural unemployment. That's why we call it, there has been an outdated syllabus. Outdated syllabus. Don't rely too much of theory. Don't rely too much on theory. Don't rely too much on theory. Don't rely too much on theory out there. Rely on practical skills that will help you to get a decent level of job out there in the market. Help you to get a decent level of job out there in the market. I hope that's clear with you. I hope that's clear with you. Okay. Coming back to the emerging tech, immersive technology like VR, AR are emerging as tools to improve educational accessibility and quality. Okay, these are certain things. Now there has been a lot of edtechs that's been improving quality stuff out there, but is it efficient? No, I don't think so. Because still you require a classroom learning, you require a proper interaction with your teacher. Education is an interactive base. It's not just one-way communication that I'm doing right now at this moment. Okay. Gender gap, only 1 in 3 girls complete secondary school, often impacted by early marriage. This has been another case. Why women drop out? Why women drop out? Why women drop out? The first is security concerns. The first is security concerns. Second, what would be? Security concerns. Second would be, again, sir, last mile connectivity of schools has been very poor. There is no immediate school that's been closer to the radius of a particular, what we call as a village. So women have to travel a long distance. Again, it comes to their security. Because what happens? Again, it comes to security because what happens? There has been a lot of crime or harassment that's been going on in this in this present time as well. You can even imagine the cases such as what we call as a Nirbhaya case, that too in a capital, So security concerns has been there. No female washrooms. No female washrooms. Third would be no female washrooms. Another sector, security concerns, no female washroom. What will be the another thing? Early marriage. Early marriage. Early marriage. What does that mean, early marriage? Sir, again, that's nothing but a characteristic of a patriarchal mindset. Characteristic of nothing but a characteristic of patriarchal mindset, patriarchal setup. Patriarchal setup out there. Okay, what we call as a patriarchal setup out there. Okay, characteristic of early out there. So, sir, of course there has been a woman dropout that's been taking place, and that's what it results into, as there has been no substantial thing that's been going on for the woman. That's why there has been a lot of what we called as lot of female dropouts, lot of female dropouts out there, Okay, so coming back to think, only 1 in the 3 girls complete secondary, as there has been early marriage system, and that's nothing but an epitome. Of what we called as patriarchal mindset. Of course, that's again comes to the resources as well. If you have a limited resources out there, it's obvious out there. It's complete obvious out there that it's gonna help you, that its preference will be given to a boy member out there as compared to the female counterpart, because again a boy needs to carry lineage and all that stuff. That's again a typical patriarchal setup. Let's move on to the next thing. Access to health, multifaceted challenges. Health and productivity. Sir, health is paramount for individual productivity and national well-being, as emphasized by the WHO, linked with health and economic growth. So if you're gonna extract, see, that needs to be understood by the corporate. That needs to be understood by the corporate as well. That needs to be understood by the corporate as well, because if you're gonna extract too much from your employees, the work will hamper. If employer extracts too much from the employee, or if they carry out what we called as too much of hard work or put in lot of burden on certain members out there, on its employee, that's why in a corporate office it will result into a disaster. It will result into a disaster out there. I hope you got this. So again, sir, look at the condition of gig economy out there. There are a lot of people that's been working on extreme weather conditions. There are a lot of people that's been working on extreme weather conditions out there. They're working in extreme heat. They're working in heat waves. They're working in extreme monsoons. Even at this stage, there has been a El Nino condition that's been taking place out there. So again, it's hampering their productivity. An ill mind and body doesn't give perfection. Can't even give a perfection out there. Can't even carry out a decent work. Out there. So health is important. Dual burden of disease. India faces a dual burden of communicable diseases and rising lifestyle illness, further complicated by inequitable healthcare access. So, of course, there has been a rising lifestyle illness that's been taking place. And what it calls rising illness. Because there has been again as a lifestyle diseases. People are just sitting in the corporate houses, bang on, just looking at the screen. There's nothing else out there. Of course, it's gonna weaken your eyesight. It's gonna hamper your back. It's gonna affect your mobility in a different manner out there. So that's it. And in addition to that, there has been no proper accessibility to health out there. Health has been a very expensive thing. There has been a less health, what we get is less penetration of what we called as a health insurance. There has not too much of penetration of health insurance out there. Not too much penetration of health insurance out there. Health insurance out there. Health insurance out there. Okay. Okay. I hope that will help you. I hope that will help you out. COVID-19 impact was there. Funding and affordability, again, there has been there. Too much of health is not been there. Again, there has certain things called Tata Medical Services. Tata Institute has been there for cancer specialists. That's nothing but what we call as a CSR, corporate social responsibility. Corporate social responsibility. Okay, corporate social responsibility. I hope you got these words. Okay, again, I hope you got this. Livelihood and economic opportunities, youth unemployment, as we lead to when there has been a less access to education, and when there's ill body out there, you won't get any sort of employment. You won't get. There has been a structural unemployment as well. High youth unemployment exacerbated by the COVID-19, particularly for the disadvantaged groups. But because there has been no updation in the course as such, people are not getting updated curriculum. They are not ready for the current market, which is skill based, not degree based. Which is skill based out there, not a degree based out there. I hope you get this point out there. Okay. Another thing is there is no skill development programs that's been done by the government. Again, there has been a certain schemes that's been done by the center government out there, Vikas Yojana as such, but it's not effective on the ground. The face reality is different altogether from the theory. Rural urban divide has been there. Gender equity, again, there has been no equity out there. There has been no equity. Even the female labor force participation rate has been less as compared to the male labor force participation rate. As compared to the male force participation rate. Why? Again, sir, there has been a division of duties between men and women. There has been a division of duties between men and women. There has been a division of duties between men and women. Men are considered to be a primary bread earners. Men are considered to be a primary bread earners out there. When you compare that with women, the primary role is to take care of the family, is to take care of the elders, is to take care of the kid out there. That's how it works. That's how it works. It's a patriarchal division. It's nothing but division of labor. Nothing. It's called division of labor. Nothing but called division of labor. Division of labor. Division of labor. Division of labor. Okay, that's how your thing works. Access to education is strongly linked to improve employment, economic stability, which each additional year of schooling potentially increase earning by 10%. That's certain not very important statistics out there. Not very important statistics out there. What we need. So there has been again gender equity, a cross-cutting barrier and opportunity. There has been economic empowerment. Empowering women contribute significantly to social justice and broader economic growth. We have less accessibility of what we call less representation of women out there in the CEO's position or managerial position. We need to increase that, because if we're going to increase that position or give a renowned position out there to these women, they're going to build a better public policy that will be inclusive. Build a better public policy that will be inclusive. That will be inclusive. That will be inclusive out there. I hope you get this. Again, literacy and workforce gap. Women face higher poverty rates due to lower literacy and workforce participation. Women are too much dependent on their male counterparts. You can see a lot of housewives are there. They are dependent on male counterparts. They are not earning. That's why they face a lot of what we call oppression out there. That's why they face a lot of oppression out there. I hope you get this point. Again, improve wash facilities and menstrual hygiene contribute to increased school attendance for girls. There has been no toilets for them. There has been no washroom for them. Again, sanitary napkins has been there, not there in the school out there. So again, we need to improve on that to improve the enrollment ratio of women out there. To improve the enrollment ratio of women out there. So I hope all these points help you to understand, helps you to understand what we call as what we called as the intersection point. What we called as a intersection point of education, health, called as education, health, and livelihood. Okay, so that's it from my side. Thanks for coming. Thank you. Good afternoon.